next guest is David Meltzer, and I'm super excited to have him on because I think people need to hear the stories and the downfalls of what it actually takes before you get successful. And David, eventually got to $100 million, lost everything, clawed his way back. And so I think it's super helpful for young entrepreneurs to hear those stories because they're either probably going through the same things or will go through the same things at some point.
Absolutely. And I think part of that is understanding two different time zones, because I know and work with so many young people that their time zone's different than when you get old like me. So there's way I divide time, and I didn't do this when I was young, was there's today, 24 hours today, which is man-made constructive time. And there's a lot of pragmatic things in man-made constructive time and the man-made values and priorities that people have, like getting rich. And then there's the infinite time that involves both wisdom and faith. And you can't have wisdom and faith when you're young at the same level that you have wisdom and faith when you're old.
But you think you do.
But you definitely,
But at 18 years old, you think you know everything. But you realize, like, with life comes experience.
Yeah.
And that's, how you've gotten to be where you're at today. And I love watching your social media. I feel like you're so powerful with your words. You're very smart, very wise. But I think overall, you're just such a positive person for being through all the things that you've been through. Some people would just have like a negative outlook on life. But I feel like your main goal is just to make people feel good about themselves and make people happy.
Exactly. And I went on this mission later on in life after I lost everything to empower other people. So being here with you two is I see future literally powerful, influential people. Notice I didn't say influencers. I call influencers because you guys are in the flow. You guys don't spread flu or disease, some misperception of fake guruism like a 19-year-old life coach, which always makes me laugh.
I know, same.
But my background started in humility, but it was also in a world of scarcity.
Yeah.
And so I've divided 3 worlds that people live in from my own experience, and it may or may not apply to everyone, but I see so many people suffer from living in a world of not enough. Really wealthy people and really poor people, and in between, they always are victims, no matter what happens. And you talked about this ability to find the light, the love, and the lessons and shit that happens that nobody probably could even understand or know how you could think of it positively, like losing everything.
Yeah.
But I grew up in this, beautiful family with a single mom, raised 6 kids, 5 boys and 1 girl, worked 2 jobs, which was a great blessing for me because people, and you guys will find this out as your kids get older, kids especially don't listen to their parents, but they watch you.
I did see on your stories, you talk a lot about your mom, your background, how you came from a household with a single mom, and you said the 6 kids. Where was dad? How did this happen? And what did she do for work to raise you guys?
So when I was young, my dad was a piece of shit. Later on, I learned...
Hey, listen, same.
And I learned a lot from it, but I was blessed that I learned to understand my dad, not change him. And I reestablished a relationship later on in life that was really beneficial and fulfilling. But when I was 5, my dad was my hero, and he left my mom for a girl that was probably closer to my age than his. Literally, that scene in Chef when he's waiting outside and his dad drives by, I literally had a similar experience. And it was interesting because my dad was a liar, a cheater, manipulator, overseller, and back-end seller. And there came a time, as probably talk about later, that I dealt with the hate that I had for him. And so my dad was not there. And worse, when he wasn't there.
Where did you grow up at?
I was born in Akron, Ohio. And my mom was a 2nd grade teacher who literally packed our dinner in a paper bag and drove us around filling up turnstiles at convenience stores with greeting cards just so we could eat. She was so generous that I remember having food stamps and she still would buy pencils because they didn't have enough money in the schools. We were talking about education.
Yeah.
For the kids in her class.
I never have understood that. Like, I really don't get it. I mean, a lot of times these teachers have to buy their own supplies, or they have now at least they have Amazon wish lists,
right?
Where they can say, "Hey, world, like help my room supply the needs." That's just crazy to me that they don't have the supplies that they need.
Yeah, it's
back
amazing.
then and still today.
With a tax rate that it's at, you would think we would prioritize education. But luckily, education's changing. Thanks to people like you that are giving real world education to people. And my mom was an educator, so all she cared about was education. That's how we were going to get out of being a victim.
Yeah.
You know, everything happened to me when I was young. And I was born with a happy gene, so that helped. But I just wanted to please my mom because she sacrificed so much for me and my siblings.
So did you go to college?
So I ended up, I wanted to be a football player.
Okay.
My siblings were all, excuse my language, parents' wet dreams. They went to Harvard, Penn, Columbia.
Bad words and nasty things are not,
Yeah.
we're okay. We can say whatever you want.
Yeah. So they all went to the Ivy Leagues, graduated summa cum laude. I did very well in school, but I didn't know it because I got a B in high school and none of my siblings ever got a B. So literally the standard of education.
You thought you were the not so smart one.
Oh, all I heard was fetus is fully developed after graduate school. You could do whatever you want after that. Doctor, lawyer, or failure. So my mom freaked out that I wanted to be a football player. Plus, it's not like my dad was bigger than I am.
Yeah.
And literally, this is a true story. I went to a family reunion and more people were impressed by the fact that I was a below average college football player than my siblings that went to Harvard and graduated summa cum laude. That was like a norm in my family. But the fact that I even like made a team somewhere playing some sport was a miracle to my family. But I found out very quickly that that wasn't going to pay the bill.
Yeah.
And all, as you know, that I wanted to be was rich. That was the only thing missing in my life. And no matter what it was going to take, I was going to be rich and I was going to buy my mom a house.
Well, that's funny because Sean and I were the same exact way. Both came from lower middle class. And I remember my parents never sheltered me for what I could and couldn't watch on TV. So I was watching, rated R, accidentally found some porn from my dad's when I was 5. So I'd literally seen it all. But I remember seeing the movie Basic Instinct and I was like, oh, that's a cool life. I just always imagined myself like living in a big city. I was going to be doing something. And I had a school project where I had to write a book at 11 years old or 12 years old. And I said I was going to be the CEO of a company. I had no idea what a CEO meant. I just knew I was going to live in a high rise somewhere. I think you're born with that. And I was never exposed to that life. I remember playing in the street one time. I don't know. I remember looking in the gutter. I don't know, I was catching frogs or something. I was a tomboy. I remember thinking to myself, I'm like, man, I wonder what it's like in Houston. I bet you there's 5 people out there that have $1 million.
Right.
I just didn't really understand what was out here because I came from such a small-minded life of my parents, but I knew that I wanted to get out of that. And I knew playing darts and drinking beer in the garage wasn't going to be for me, but I didn't know how to get there. I just knew that I had to find the path to get there.
We both grew up in a small town and it was pre-social media. So you only know what
you see in the movies.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Or you only know what the people in your town are doing and that's it. Nothing goes outside of that. And so I think that's one of the good things about social media is the access to information now.
I'm so old. It was pre-color TV. So you guys are way beyond me.
Yeah, we had the spin dial. We only had 3 channels. We had that.
Yeah, I was the remote in my family. Can you change the
channel? How old are you?
I'm 56.
56? Yeah, we're 40 almost 43. I'll be
43.
You guys just look younger, that's all. So,
a lot of Botox. Probably too much.
I'm all for it. It's fine.
Where did you go to school? You went off somewhere?
Yeah,
you stayed home?
I went to LA, to Occidental. I moved to San Diego when I was 9.
Okay.
My mom decided if we're going to be poor, we might as well be poor in a nice place.
In a more expensive place.
Yeah, but her sister lived there and her brother lived there. Okay. So we had some family support. She also wanted to get us away from my dad. Yeah. And I understand that as I got older. So we moved there. I went to college and blessed to get a scholarship to play football.
Oh.
And
so
then
you weren't too bad.
No. In high school, I wasn't too bad. I was
What position
small.
did you play?
I always say I played tailback when I got off the bench. The coach is like, get your tail back. You're way too small to play.
I was going to ask the position. I'm like, what did you
I returned kicks was what I was really good at, but I played from defensive back and running back as well. But I realized really quickly, in fact, I have a great story about it. Christian Okoye, who was the AFC player of the year the next year. He was a 5th-year senior. I was a freshman. He played the first game against me, and I was the fastest guy on the team, so I was the bullet on the kickoff team. And I remember thinking in my head, this is it. I know I'm small, but I'm going to show everybody that I'm going to make the NFL. Sure enough, I fly down there, and I put everything I have right into Christian Okoye. Next thing I know, I'm flying backwards. He actually stepped on me. And I remember lying there thinking to myself,
that's it.
Doctor, lawyer, or failure. And so I picked doctor, but this is one of the best lessons I learned. My older brother was already a doctor, and he was at UCLA Medical Center there. And then I went over to visit him. True story, 18 years old, pre-med at a really good college. And I visited my brother at the hospital, and I look around, he goes, what's the matter? I said, I hate hospitals. He goes, Dave, you're pre-med. You can't hate hospitals and be a doctor. I'm like, well, I'm not going to be a hospital doctor. I'm going to be a sports doctor. I'm going to be in locker rooms. And he goes, you have to be in hospital to be like an orthopedic surgeon.
You got to change diapers and shit for a
Yeah,
long time before you get there.
when I was 18, I'm just so stupid. But he gave me great advice. He looked at me and he said, David, you need to be more interested than interesting. And it changed the way I looked at things in my life, that I was a talker, I was a bullshitter. I was very interesting, but I started to do research, and that's how I ended up at law school. And the law school I went to is Tulane University.
Oh, wow.
Because they have the highest paid graduates, because they all go to oil and gas here in Houston, most of them.
Yep.
And so I went to law school to make a lot of money. People would say, well, you passionate about maritime law? I'm like, no, I'm not passionate about anything other than the higher, like you.
The money.
Exactly. I'm passionate. The only thing that was ever missing. My mom was amazing. My siblings were amazing. I felt loved. I was confident. I was healthy.
But money equaled success.
Oh, for me, my whole identification until I lost it all was my bank. I had over $100 million. My bank account went up $100. I was happy that day. If it went down $100, I was sad.
I want to hear how you lost it all, but I first want to hear how you gained it. So when did you graduate law school?
So I graduated in 1992.
Okay.
And it was a great story because I got a job here in Houston with an oil and gas company for $150,000 in 1992, salary plus bonuses.
Yeah, that's great, especially right out of school.
And it was also a recession. And so most of the people, we had like 17% of the kids get jobs out of law school. And in fact, I almost left law school because I got a sales job for $60,000 selling golf clubs in Japan. And I almost dropped out because I'm like, shit, I'll make more selling golf clubs than I will being an oil and gas lawyer. But thank goodness I had that offer. But my maritime professor said, Dave, you're the best sales guy I've ever met. There's this publisher that publishes all the law materials. They're the ones you see in the commercials with the keys on it. It's called West Publishing out of Minnesota. He goes, they're looking for 4 young lawyers. I'll get you the interview, but you're supposed to have 4 years of legal experience to sell. There's this new thing called the internet to sell these books online. And he goes, I'm like, I'm not interested. He goes, well, it pays $250,000 at plan. I'm like, well, 250 is more than 150. I'm loyal to one thing. I get the job. I have to now tell my mom that I'm going to take this sales job and not be a real lawyer. My mom made me take the bar because she told me the internet was a fad. It would never last.
We all thought it was. I mean, it took 30 minutes just to log on to a website.
Oh my God. You should see how long it took you to download the case law or the statutes.
Oh my God. I can't even imagine.
But 9 months out of law school, I was a millionaire.
Wow.
Took the job in sales. I was really good at it.
Where were you based out of at that point?
So Florida. So it was brand new. So I had the whole Southeast. So I got engaged in law school, never got married to her, married my dream girl, which you'll find out, but lived in Miami, Coconut Grove. And I flew every day and flew to different states selling the biggest firms like here, Jones and Day, Vincent.
How did you even get that appointment? I mean, how were you selling the internet to attorneys back then?
Well, luckily they had a monopoly. I know they don't like me to say that now, but they had a monopoly.
They're the only ones doing it.
Every single lawyer in America had an account with West Publishing. They're like Black's Law Dictionary, for example. They published that. They were the official reporter of all 50 states in the federal government, which meant all case law was printed by West Publishing. So I had unlimited leads.
Yeah.
And we also had unlimited accounts. And I, a lot of times, was just converting books to.
Yeah, I was just going to say, that was probably the benefit of, hey, now this is all digital. And when there's updates, it's just easy.
And the money made more. Like it was so easy to articulate the quantitative value to exceed what I was asking for. And I was a hustler. So most of the guys that were selling books made a lot of money being book reps. And they all had to be lawyers. You had to be a lawyer to sell for them, like doctors sell medical equipment.
The attorneys would just respect you more, and you would understand what you were talking about.
And you understand, you know how to cost justify it. And so, but I was a hustler. They were married with kids, with homes. They weren't going to do what I did. Yeah. And so in my first book, I wrote about the power of 64. I knew I wasn't as good as they were, but if I worked 16 hours a day instead of 8.
Yeah, you were getting double the amount. Yeah.
And then twice as efficient and twice as effective.
I want all of the young people listening, if you were in your 20s, listen to this guy right here.
Yeah.
You put in double the effort and you make double the amount of money. So I'm constantly trying to tell my girls, I'm like, you're inside the store 8 hours a day, 9 hours a day. You could double what you're making if you're also going home, filming yourself talking to the camera, because you get credit for your online sales too. Double the amount of work, double the amount of money. I don't want to hear anybody complaining that you didn't make enough this year. If you
Listen
made
to her.
60, you can make 120.
I had that same mentality. I was like,
Me
there's
too.
nobody that's outworking me right now. In
Yeah.
my mind, I was like, there's no way.
16 years old with 2 jobs and
yeah.
on the golf team. Like, I wanted to make money. I was money hungry as a 16-year-old.
Yeah.
Same thing.
And today there's one other aspect that I teach, and I love my employees when we bring in a new person. You won't outwork me. I'm like, this is exactly what I want to hear. Like, let's get competitive about how hard we work. But here's a nuance that wasn't available when I started. The total addressable community, because of online sales, is so large, it's not fathomable by the human mind. Just like infinite time or infinite is not fathomable by a human mind. It's just impossible for us to understand. Why that is so important is that I am one of the world's best trainers of getting people to call you back, email you back, DM you back. See, statistically—
What do you mean? Explain
exactly.
that. Yeah.
So there's so many people in the market today. Unlike when I was young, I had to go, and I was limited by the number of people that I could call out to because I didn't have access to everyone like we do on the internet or social media. So today, because we have so many people we can access, we actually have a quantitative advantage, because if I can double the amount of people that get back to me, I'll double my sales. I also will get better at sales, which will more than double my sales.
Are you saying like have a call to action? Is that what you mean?
Either call that— well, I call it simulating interest. So most people give too much information today, and they actually inhibit or create resistance for people wanting to know more.
So just TMI, just give them little snippets instead of the full
Have them
story.
get to you. Exactly. Just get them. My only thing that I train, and I told you, don't say I'm the world's best at many things, because I'm not. But what I'm really, really good at is I teach people to get back to you.
So I understand what you're saying by that, because I'll relate that to what I do. Makeup artist, I sell cosmetics. I'm OCD, type A.
I love
so of course
that.
I want everything to be listed out. I want it to be perfect. I'm a perfectionist, micromanager, call me whatever you want, right? But if I do a post of a headshot of me or a model wearing the products, if I list every single thing, there's no engagement, because all the information they needed was there. But if I only list half the colors and everyone's saying, well, what lipstick were you wearing? I wanted the liner. You didn't say what blush. And then you create more engagement. So I do see exactly what you're saying. Give them a little snippet of something, but we'll make them ask more questions.
And then teach them to transition interest and share a vision. And then the real benefit comes from managing and developing after you have a client. Right? My idea, which is also available because of the total addressable community, and why I do these podcasts and why I surround myself with bigger people on bigger stages, because we have bigger communities, is it allows you to access more consistently the total addressable community. Yes, you can have one video go viral, but that's not going to do anything. But if you elevate the people you're around and the communities that they have, you have more access to the total addressable community. Now you can build a community, which you've done in your business, which is a bunch of people that want to help each other and know people that can help each other. Why? Because those people buy from each other and sell for each other for life. And your business is built on women who buy your product and tell all their friends how awesome it is.
I didn't pay for marketing until August 2023. Everything was organic, because we try to create that experience. Like you said, have your point of difference, create an experience, engage with your client, follow them after they've had an appointment with you, follow up with the video saying, how are you liking everything? We're not just here, we're not a grocery store, you're not clerking. Create that relationship, because when you do, they feel like they made a best friend. We say we're polygamists. The more wives you have, the more wives want to tell their friends. And if each person tells 5 of their friends, that's how you grow your personal book of business.
It's an amazing thing. So that engagement, they call it, starts with getting back to you.
The art of selling is truly education. It's not the joke of the shoe salesman, everybody being pushy. It's just education and engagement. And if you do that, the sales will come naturally.
You nailed it.
Create something special and different that will make them think of you every morning when they're putting their makeup on, right? Encourage them to want to tell their friends. And that's how you spread the word. And you really don't have to market yourself. All of that will just come naturally.
Because the market's so big, when we had a limited amount of people, it tended to have salespeople that were feature and benefit dumping. There's a whole different sale and utilizing overselling, back end selling. A lot of people would lie, manipulate, or cheat. You don't have to today. My whole premise of my life of building a community of people that buy from me and sell for me for life is simply to find out, number one, what are you doing today? So I would say to you, oh my God, you are so beautiful. What are you doing today? And you'd say, well, I do Botox. I have this lipstick. Oh, what do you like about it? Oh, I like this, this, and this. Oh, would it help you if I introduce you to Gentry?
Mm-hmm.
She has exactly that, but also it moisturizes
Yeah.
your eye, right? And oh yeah, I'd love to meet her.
Yeah.
Or then it gives me an opportunity to expand the community of people that want to help each other by saying, hey, do you know anyone that could help me? You know, I've been doing this podcast. Can you find your friends? We talk exactly about building a health and beauty business. Do you know what can help me? I'd love for them to download my podcast.
Remember back in the day, we would say, what did Sean do? And I'm like, Sean, talking about supplements. He's like, nope. He's like, nope. He hated the industry that he was in, but he never wanted to continue the conversation because he knew that it was just not something he was passionate about. That kind of goes back to what you said in the beginning too. You have, I don't remember exactly what you said, some interesting or whatever it was. Is you have to really be passionate about what you do to be able to talk about it and spread the word and educate people.
Yeah, it's interesting. Do you guys, Bob Parsons founded GoDaddy. It'd be a great interview for you guys to have as well.
We all use him a lot.
Yeah, he's amazing. And I had this philosophy, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. This idea of being passionate. And he changed my perspective. I was interviewing him and he said at the Super Bowl, he said, Dave, if you love what you do, and on camera, I'm embarrassed, but I rolled my eyes because I'm like, don't say you'll never work a day in your life. He said, Dave, if you learn to love what you do and you learn to love what you don't like, and you learn to love what you hate, and you learn to love what other people don't like and other people hate, and you learn to do it every day. This is that extra double effort. And you learn to not quit at it, to be persistent. Life will tell you all its secrets.
Yeah. And I learned that from him too. I mean, Sean's always like, pay people to do the things that you're not good at and don't try to do everything. I mean, he's really big on hiring the right team, like he did for this podcast. They're all sitting back here.
Yeah, they look great.
As hire the right team, people who are already like, obviously, Brian, our producer, he's sitting right behind me. He hates editing. I'll call you out right now, Brian. I was surprised he even told Sean yes to doing this. But Sean from the very beginning was like, listen, you're amazing at what you do. You're amazing at the lighting, the setup, the capturing the image. We'll hire people to do the things that you don't want to do. But doing that from the very beginning and doing what you are good at and honing in and mastering that part of it is what makes you successful.
Absolutely.
Sometimes when you get good at something, though, you end up loving it. So the better somebody gets at something, it's like, well, I'm really good at it now, so I really love it. And it's not always true. If you really hate doing something, sometimes you end up loving it because you get really, really good at it.
Yeah. And I use a trash analogy. Taking out the trash, for whatever reason, I've been married 27 years to my dream girl. Emotionally, it means something different to my wife than it means to me. I hated taking out the trash because I grew up in a family where somehow they assigned me that role with 6 kids. Then I was the smallest, football player in my football fraternity. So guess who got to take the nastiest trash in the world out? Then I had 3 daughters. So I was always taking the trash out. And my attitude towards it was, I hate this. So I'd throw it, it'd spill on me, it'd cut me if there's anything that went wrong with trash happened to me. And then I did exactly what Sean's talking about. I changed the way I looked at the trash. I realized that every time I took out the trash, it was a symbolic action that I cared about my wife, that I prioritized my wife. It reflected how much I loved her. And I also changed the way and said, hey, it takes a few minutes. Why not use that time to think about what makes me happy? Yeah. What I want, instead of not what I didn't want. And so all of a sudden I started loving taking the trash out. I take it out at the office. I take it out at my friend's house. And then all of a sudden my friend's wives
You're the trash man.
Yeah. But the friend's wives were like, dude, your husband is amazing. Like, I think I even became better looking to my wife because I took the trash out.
So let's talk about your wife. I heard that you married your 3rd grade sweetheart or whatever it is. So tell us that story.
So ironically, I graduated law school, make all this money, and we end up selling the company in 1995 for $3.4 billion. Oh, wow. So I then decided that after being a top executive at Thomson Reuters, who bought us, that I'd go to the Silicon Valley and learn how to raise money. So I got into venture capital and I ended up making a lot of money in the middleware space. And then eventually I became Samsung's CEO of their phone division.
Wow.
They started a data phone. It was called a convergence device in 1999. There was no smartphones. It was a Windows
before
device.
There was a flip phone.
It was at the flip phone time. Okay. And that's why Samsung became the second largest manufacturer of phones. I broke up with my fiance. Mm-hmm. She had cheated on me and she was in law school. And I literally got pushed into my wife, who I met in the 4th grade, who I asked through a friend to go study with me in 6th grade camp.
She
She
turned you down.
embarrassed me, said, no, tell him to ask me himself. So I threw egg at her. And she had Rosanna Dana hair because there was no hair products back then. It literally, she's going to hate me for this. It looked like pubic hair. So I would make fun
Like
of
Sean's
her.
hair? No.
Yeah, no, way
Got naturally
worse.
curly hair.
Way worse.
It's getting curlier as I get
It's
older.
so funny. You have really bored straight hair. Now it's just every day it's getting kinkier and kinkier.
Yeah, she had a full fro. Anyway, I would make fun of her because I loved her and I was little. And so she stayed away from me through high school. I ran into her a few times. One of my favorite stories, because I believe that the universe took care of this for me. But when I broke up with my fiance, I came home and I ran into her at a bar. But I was too embarrassed to say that I had broken up with my fiance. So we had a conversation about her mom who was dying. And I didn't bring up anything about I was more interested than what was going on with her. Well, anyway, she went to go see her mom the next day at the hospital. Her mom was dying of cancer. And her mom, she said, Mom, guess who I ran into last night? I had a great conversation. She said, who? David Meltzer. She goes, isn't that little shit that threw the egg at you? And then she told her what I was doing. And her mom said, you need to date him.
Yeah.
And she goes, well, he's engaged.
Sounds like my mom was Sean.
Yeah. And then she's like, you need to find someone like him. Now it's 3 years later. I'm in Mexico in a very crowded resort drinking. And somebody pushed me right into her. It was so crowded.
So wait a second. 3 years goes by. You didn't really continue that conversation with her.
No.
She didn't listen to her mom's wise words.
No. Well, her mom, and so, but I bumped right into her, and literally I was drunk and my friend was drunk, and she gave me her number. We had another great conversation. This time kind of updated her what was going on. I thought she hated me still because my friend was really an idiot, and I threw her number away.
Oh, God.
And she ended up calling me, and we had the best date of I almost blew it again when she came up because I lived in Orange County at the time. And you'll love this. First date, we were going to the beach, and then I figured if it was a good date on the beach, I'd take her to dinner,
Yeah.
So she brought a bag. I don't know what I was thinking. I'm like, oh, I didn't know you were spending the night. She told me she was turned around. But needless to say, I married my dream girl. I was living my dream life.
And how long have you guys been married now?
27 years.
Oh, wow. That's right. You
4
did say
kids, 3 girls, 1 boy. And it's the best decision of my life. And she's saved my life. She's amazing. I get choked up. But
So I feel like this is consistent. And I did hear you say this in your videos too. With entrepreneurs, you have to have someone that supports you, right? You have to have someone who's your cheerleader, not like, why are you working so late? How was your relationship in the beginning with you guys kind of getting to know each other? You had already become really successful in your career. I'm sure you were working long hours. Was there struggle in the relationship, or was she always like positive and uplifting with you?
she was always positive and uplifting until I got to be too much. And so my wife saved my life. I would say there was 3 red flags that I got lost. So after I was CEO of Samsung's phone division, Lee Steinberg, who's the most notable sports agent in the world, hired me to be the CEO of his company, not because I was a great lawyer or sports agent, but because I had venture capital experience and technology experience at a very high level.
I can already guess where this story is going to go.
Yeah, and he believed sports was going to end up in venture. It was a visionary.
But let me guess, you go from the more corporate atmosphere to more of a out all the time, gone all the time,
Drugs
not
and
coming in
alcohol all
till,
the time.
yep.
Yeah. And also, it's one thing to be rich, but when you have access to what billionaires can't afford to, and most of your business is around that stuff. I mean, Lee himself is a recovering alcoholic, and he'd be the last person in the world you'd want to party with. He's like a dorky Berkeley lawyer who was on debate team, but he ended up falling into it. And so when I was 30, my dad, who I hadn't talked to, sent me my first birthday present in 20 years. And he gave me a jacket that fit perfectly. And I looked to see if it said like happy birthday, son, or Armani. And he had torn out all the pockets of the jacket. When I was 30 years old, I just had gotten married to my wife, living in my dream home in Rancho Santa Fe, California, more money than I ever dreamed of. I was not working for Lee yet. I freaked out when I got the jacket and it had no pockets. I called my dad. I went from complete joy to like rage. I was like, dude, you haven't given me a gift in 20 years. Now you give me a torn jacket. Like what the? And my dad said, hey, I want to reestablish a relationship, but I'm worried about you. You think money buys love and happiness? So did I. Don't make the same mistakes as I've made, son. He goes, that jacket, hang it up. Remind yourself every day you can't take anything with you. In fact, someday, a long time from now, I want you to be buried in that jacket. And I told my dad, F you. I hate you. You're a liar, a cheater, manipulator, overseller, back end seller. F you. I never want to. And I hung up on him. 6 years later, I'm now working for Lee Steinberg, have all this access. My mom was on my ass all the time saying, son, you've lost perspective. You have no faith. My mom's very religious. I'm worried about you. I invite my best friend, Rob. He's actually the guy that asked my wife for me to go steady at 6th grade camp. I invite him to the Masters. Warren Moon, Wayne Gretzky, Joe Montana, net jets, fly private, parties, back in the cabins with Curtis Strange. I mean, full access to the Masters. He's a huge golf fan. I asked him to go with me. Immediately, he's like, I'm not going. It's like, Rob.
But he saw it too.
He said, I don't like who you hang out with. I don't like what you're doing. I don't want to be around it. And I said, Rob, I'm not doing what those guys are doing. And he said, David, you can lie to me and continue to lie to me, but stop lying to yourself.
Yeah.
You're going to end up dead, bro.
I'm literally thinking of Wolf of Wall Street right here.
Yeah, who was a friend of mine too, at Lee's. And then I told him to F off.
That was a good friend.
A great
not
friend.
a lot of people do that.
Then came the big day. 2 weeks after that, after I'd been complaining about my mom, my dad, and my best friend and how nobody understands me and everybody else loves me, how come these people are on my ass, to my wife, I asked her if I could go to the Grammy Awards. I was doing some marketing with Little John, the rapper, and he had been awarded at the Grammys. And she said, Dave, you got to start listening to your family and friends that care about you. Stay at home. You're partying way too much. You're not paying attention to the family, to your health, or to your business.
I'm sure it didn't go as calm as you're saying right now.
Yeah. And so I lied to her.
Yeah.
I went to the Grammy Awards. I came home wasted at 5:30 in the morning, and she was waiting for me. And she said, I'm leaving. I'm not happy. I'm not going to have our 3 daughters who are all under 10 see this.
You live this lifestyle.
Yeah, this is not happening. F you and your money. I'm leaving in the morning. And I remember holding my arms out. I'm like, are you kidding me? Who do you think did all of this?
Yeah.
Who do you think you're going to live without me? F you. So then I go to bed, wake up in the morning, hating my mom, hating my dad, hating my best friend, and hating my wife. And I'm thinking in my head, what lawyers am I going to get? F them. I'm taking everything back. I'm going to take my mom's house. I'm going to take all my house. I had 33.
The diary of an angry white man at this point.
Terrible. And ironically, out of everything, I look over and in my closet, I hadn't seen it in a long, guess what's staring at me? That
The jacket.
goddamn jacket.
Well, this just goes back to, your whole life, you've kind of been a victim at this point, right? And so at this point, you decide, hey, wait, I'm the problem.
It's exactly what happened.
Taylor Swift said it. I'm the problem. It's me.
Yeah. I said to myself, I don't hate my mom. I don't hate my dad.
Yeah.
Don't hate my best friend. Don't hate my wife. I hate myself.
And I can do better. Yeah.
I'm a liar. I'm a cheater. I'm an overseller, back-end seller, manipulator.
You're your dad.
And my wife had said, take stock in who you were and what you want to become before I went to bed. So I took stock in who I was and what I wanted to become. And I came up with these values that I teach in the first book that I wrote, Connected to Goodness. And I am blessed when you talked about my wife supporting me. I went back to her and I begged her not to leave me.
So how long did that take? I mean, did she actually pack her stuff the next day, or was it like the next morning?
She was already packed.
Okay, so it wasn't like 2 weeks or a month or whatever.
No,
You knew
so
right
she
away.
agreed, and she's so wise. Like you'll have to meet my wife because I mean, externally,
I saw a picture of her. She's beautiful.
She's gorgeous, but inside she's way better. And people are like, "Come on!" I'm like, seriously. Like, imagine not only helping me at that time, but having the wisdom of saying, "Look, I don't expect you to change overnight, but I need you to put the same effort into changing that you did into being successful." And so she was okay with the fact that you just can't quit using and drinking and not going everywhere. You can't just go cold turkey, but you need to put an effort in because eventually it'll happen. And that's the subtlety of what, looking back 17 years later, that if she was one of those wives that would have said, okay, if you ever drink again, I'm leaving.
She just needed to see progress.
Yeah, she needed to see progress. And
Which a lot of people wouldn't have done that. I mean, almost no one.
isn't it crazy
Yeah.
that and so that's been my whole thing with other people. Good behavior is behavior that's aligned with where you want to be or better. And the instant result of good behavior is good progress. Bad behavior interferes with where you want to be or better. And the instant result is bad progress. We tend to, especially when we're young, look for outcomes. And you are not an overnight success. You are not an overnight success. You're someone that has continually improved your behaviors, and then progress accelerates, aggregates, and compounds. And the outcomes take care of themselves. Human beings can't understand outcomes. If somebody would have told me 2 years after my wife slapped emotionally the shit out of me, 2 years later, I would lose everything. And I'd have to go tell my mom and walk to her door and tell her I was bankrupt, but worse, I lost her house.
Yeah.
Only reason I wanted to be rich, buy my mom a house originally. That was the only reason. And my mom not even fazed by it and just asking me, are you okay? And I told her, Mom, I'm not. I'm a victim. How could this happen to me? And she said, son, it's not happening to you. This is happening through you.
Yeah.
There's a world out there of more than enough for you, of everything and everyone. Just relax. It'll be fine. I go, Mom, you lost your house. She goes, I know. Do you need any money? Right? The same mom that I had. And then I said, Mom, I don't believe in God. And then she looked at me and she said, oh, dear, you believe in God. You just believe in the wrong God. And that's when it started again to
What did that mean? Like
progress.
idolizing people instead of or money?
Money.
I heard you say a couple of times you got up to $100 million. Was that before the breakdown with your wife?
Yeah.
After? When did you said it just a second ago.
Oh,
When
yeah.
did the
So-
bankruptcy happen?
2 years after. So, but she saw where I was heading.
Yeah.
I didn't see it because I was literally numbing my life with alcohol and drugs and bad people and
Not
going to
making good
clubs that I
decisions.
shouldn't go to, all the things that I shouldn't do.
Was it 2008?
2008. Yeah. So I
So was
bought a golf course in a ski mountain and I was spending out of control. I was in lawsuits, no idea. And understanding, people ask, how do you lose that much money? Here's what really happened besides me not paying attention at all is in having the wrong behaviors. And it takes time, right? Bad behavior progresses like good behavior. It keeps doubling. And, I see my friends, health-wise, they'll say, oh, I'm still partying, and they're 50% of the way to a heart attack.
Yeah.
And then it's just one more year because it keeps doubling, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It takes about
the
18.
bad decision had already been made.
Yeah, and that was
bad
my
performance was,
bankruptcy.
and it just took 2 years for it to all fall apart.
Yeah.
So I want to hear, how do you made the $100 million? Did that come from the phone thing, the Samsung
A lot
deal,
of things.
or was it
So
before that?
First, I believe the reason that in how I made all my money was like you. I enjoy the consistent, everyday, persistent pursuit of my potential. And so I'm a 7-day a week, still am. I'm very good with time. I study time. I teach time. I mentor time. But I sold a lot and made a lot in selling. Then I got a little bit of stock in that company.
Okay, got it.
Then I got into venture
Okay.
in the right time. Then I became a high-paid C-level executive and invested really well, mostly in real estate and stocks. But because I was early pre-chasm technology, I got into really big companies early. And I also had great real estate early. So, and then the way that I lost it was because I didn't ask for help. And one of the things you'll notice on my content, I'm like, find someone like you two that's
To
sitting in
mentor
a
you. Yeah.
yeah, sits in. There's 2 ways to get where you want to be. Find you guys if I want to be where you are and ask you for help, or help someone else get to where they want to be.
So you thought it was a good deal. You weren't educated on the deal. You put all your money into one
Worse.
thing, and it was just from there.
Worse. So I had the right deals. My problem was that I didn't understand finance. Right? Remember, I'm a lawyer who was a sales guy.
It's like a doctor being a business person. I get it.
Yeah. And so what happened was I had a private bank and I had a $40 million line of credit.
Okay.
So I had no experience. I didn't know what that meant really. So I went and got into a lawsuit and I needed an extra $5 million to save my golf course and but I had bought right. Like I'm very good at buying and selling. That's all a capability I have. But here's the problem. When you think you have $40 million and you go into the bank to go get $5 million and all of a sudden the guy who's been your private banker isn't there anymore. And then the new person comes up and said, what's your name? And then I said, I'm David Meltzer. I got a $40 million line. I want to draw down $5 million. I need it for this lawsuit and this and that. And they said, oh, I'm sorry. The bank's not doing well. So everybody's down to $1 million line and you have to reapply.
Ooh, I didn't know they could do that.
Oh yeah, they can do it.
Well, it's probably based on the value of his assets. So had a borrowing base.
Well, it
line.
wasn't even, it was the value.
The
it
bank
was
was
the
just cut
bank,
down.
the bank and what they did, they were reassessing.
I've
'Cause
never had a line of credit, so I
had the
fully
equity.
understand how the line of credits work because I'm always scared of those. I'm like,
Yeah,
"Ooh."
I had enough equity at the time, but they wanted to reassess it because of that problem.
Yeah.
And the bank wasn't doing well. Well, I didn't have time to go through and reassess, especially I had big assets. My golf course was worth $120 million. Like literally we had borrowed against it at the time, and they wanted to reassess that. The ski mountain that I had, which was in Montana, the one that hurts the most, the golf course, that was one thing, but I had
You can never
so
get
many
that back.
acres in Montana.
You can't get that
And
back.
then in COVID, I'm sitting there looking at my wife. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, you could have quadrupled or more.
But my life was so
Your
great, I didn't care. But that's how everything snowballed from the fact that I wasn't liquid anymore to that extent. When you have the confidence of 40 million in liquidity and all of a sudden it turns into 1 million in liquidity, shit spins fast. And then I made a conscious choice. I could have fought my bankruptcy. I could have held on to, like, I was done. I wanted
Well, you said you needed $5 million for the lawsuit. Was that for your attorneys? But you couldn't pay to
$5 million
defend yourself at this point.
well,
so,
it was a combination, $5 million for the lawyers, but also to
Probably
settle.
your monthly expenses too, just
And
probably crazy
incredible.
too, yeah.
And to settle too.
so you went all the way to court with this one.
Yeah, and
You
then
didn't wa-
I
and
had
then you-
attorney malpractice. In fact, in the bankruptcy, like I said, I could have worked hard at not being bankrupt, but instead I had more assets than I had debts. And me and my wife made an emotional decision with confidence that I knew how to make money. Let's start over. So I actually had a bankruptcy that was profitable to the point where I could have bought back the lawsuit I had against the lawyers for losing the malpractice case, because they wanted just to settle into the bankruptcy for, like $2 million or something. And I could have bought that back and fought it and negotiated higher. But my wife and I were done.
Yeah, you just wanted to walk away from
We
it.
walked away. Most people made money off of my bankruptcy, which is an odd bankruptcy to have.
Yeah.
But it worked well because most people I kept my relationships with because they didn't lose money,
Yeah, that's good.
which was
Because I know
advantage.
that can be a really low point for your ego as an entrepreneur. Like, how do I recover from this? But I do hear, if you have, just think, Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Some people who are very successful and strong entrepreneurs, it's like they don't look at that as like my life is over.
Oh
It's an
no.
opportunity to start over, and I know how to make money, so I can do it again. I used to always say, "Don't Donald Trump us," because Sean's so risky with his investments. I'm like, "Don't do this to us."
Just bigger.
Be
I know.
be risky with this
I'm a
much.
little, I
everybody.
am
Yeah.
now. But in my 20s and early 30s,
I'm
I
very
was balls to the
disciplined on
wall,
that
yeah.
now. I have fun with 10% of
Yeah.
my money, like
Yeah.
a lot of fun.
To me, I like to save. I don't like to overextend. I would not consider myself more on the risky side. I'm more on the safe side.
I actually only need more money to invest in more businesses. I don't that's the only reason I try to go.
You and I
more.
be best friends. It's
Yeah,
good.
it's like.
But
that's
know
what I
your
try to
time and
make it
risk tolerance.
and go
You
buy
just
more
look
real
at-
estate and buy more businesses.
You just look at it as like life is short. Time is short,
Yeah, let's
and you
go.
have to make you have to be productive every week of your life and buy something new. This is Sean's mentality, and if you're not, you're a loser. So which is-
In my own mind.
Yeah, because he's like,
nobody
all right,
else.
I'm 43 years old. I don't have that much time left to keep buying. And his goal is to get to 100 million by a certain time, and then billion after that. So he's like, I got to meet my goals. I got to buy something every week.
My business partner and really good friend, my current business partner, he lost 50 million in 2008 too, and made it all back. But it's just pretty incredible. And, especially at the age you're at, you probably just sit there and go, okay, I'm starting all over. How am I going to go and make it back?
Yeah, it was.
So how did you make it work during bankruptcy? Because it's like 7 years. You can't buy anything in your
10.
name, right? 10. Oh,
10, but that's a misconception. I was amazed. It's funny when you start making a lot of money, people will give you money.
yeah.
It'll let you borrow
many
money. You just
workarounds.
put bigger down payments down. And so for me, I got very focused. And I realized when I made my first $1 million, it took me 9 months. I didn't know anyone. I really didn't have that many skills. I had no situational knowledge, and I was able to do it. Now I knew tons of people. I still had my job as CEO of the most notable sports agency in the world, right? There's a lot of things.
Did they keep you?
Yeah. And then Lee ended up going to rehab. So I went and started a marketing company with Warren Moon, a global sports marketing company. But the real way that I did it is I started asking for help. I got all the most powerful people that I had, and I said, hey, you know, in all humility, I told you my favorite quote earlier, you're humble or you're about to be. And I every morning remind myself that. And I went to people like Mr. Wynn,
Oh, wow.
very powerful people, and I asked them for help. And I told them, look, I'm smart, I'm hardworking, and can you help me? I need to find people. I'll do whatever they need, but I want to get back on my feet.
So you didn't know what it was going to be at this point. I mean,
No,
real estate was
it
going
ended
to
up
be
being health
hard.
and beauty to start while I was running the law firm and leveraging the relationships that I had and creating, an Amazon business
Yep.
in the health and beauty space by being smart and seeing. There's an infinite loop of giving that people don't realize that has really predicated my comeback. And I always believe the more I give, the more I receive.
I agree with that.
Me too.
Always
And
give in the favor of the other person and always come back to you.
so I moved from the world of not enough to this world of just enough, buying shit I didn't need to impress people I didn't like.
Yep.
But I was an awesome negotiator and trader. So I was trading giving. And I didn't subconsciously realize it. Even if I gave $1 million to charity, I wanted something back. And it was a misunderstanding of the more I gave, the more I received. And what I started to realize, and I've done a ton of research on this, my philosophy now is the more I give, the more I'm given. And my job is to elevate my awareness to all that I'm given. So as a great entrepreneur, I started looking for all the things I was given, all these opportunities and options and touches of favor that I was given that were right in front of me, like this idea with the health and beauty business. That was given to me, but I had walked by it so many times because I was always trading in negotiation to receive something.
Yeah.
Then I started working on my ability to ask for help or receive. You see a lot of people, teachers, veterans, moms, they give, but they feel bad receiving. And so you get into this game where you give everything and you
So we are.
take less.
Yeah.
If you give and you take less every time, you don't receive it or you're not aware of what you're given, eventually you're going to end up at zero. And talk to your friend who lost 50 million. He'll probably have his own rendition of what I'm talking about. Now, here's the one that really changed my life. The more you give, the more you're given. The more you're given, the more you receive. Now, if you believe like I do, I'm a faith-based person. I believe, I don't care what your religion, philosophy, theories, or spirituality is. I believe in something bigger than me that loves me more than my mom. People say, you believe in Jesus, Dave? I'll say, Jesus bigger than me and love me more than my mom? Yeah. Oh, Jesus is my man. Like that's how I believe. It's simple, but it works.
And are you
for me.
Jewish too?
Jewish culture.
Yeah.
But I'm not Jewish religion. But I believe in God.
Yeah.
And I believe in Jesus. But I literally have learned, if I truly believe that there's an omniscient, all-powerful, all-knowing God that promotes me, protects me, and loves me more than my mom, then there's more than enough for everyone. How could it not be? So I learned to ask for more. I learned to have my faith that I'm going to always ask for more. So instead of giving more and getting less, I give more, I'm given more, I receive more, I ask for more than more. Now I can give more than more, be given more than more, receive more than more, ask for more than more than more. You know where I'm going to end up at 80? With more than enough of everything for everyone. Continually giving it away, elevating my awareness to all that I'm given, receiving even more, but continually asking for help.
I love that. You're so good
Changed
with
my
words
life.
too. I get all tongue-tied trying to say all that and remember all of that.
Practice.
So now I have to know, like, what do you take for mental health? What are you doing for like strengthening and exercising your brain? I'm super curious because you're so well-spoken and
Thank you.
you have a great memory and
I practice, but the main difference in my life is sleep. I have a sleep coach. I've had a sleep coach for 17 years.
I did hear you say that.
And so a third of your life is spent sleeping. Sleeping not only allows you to recover, but it allows you to access information from a higher source. And then learning how to transcend that. I do it through meditation. You don't have to use meditation.
I think I'm too ADHD to meditate. I tried. I went to a meditation. She's one of my clients. She's like, "Let me teach you for free," and I'm like, "I just can't do it."
Exercise.
I notice the breathing helps. So I'm having a moment, but I think I'm just so overstimulated during the day. I'm like a moving target, and trying to figure out how to streamline that and to not look at the distractions. because I do get my 8-9 hours of sleep every night.
Good.
Uninterrupted sleep. Take my progesterone now, sleep like a rock. It's better than
Perfect.
Ambien.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have a hard time being a moving target during the day and, keeping my focus
Yeah.
all in one place.
It's a practice though. Everything, if you want to get better at anything, you have to practice it. And you have to I have a mathematical formula for luck. So I tell people, pay attention to what you want and then look at your actual calendar during the day and say, am I doing, saying, thinking, feeling, and believing? That's intention. All 5 things are intention. If you do things towards what you want, say them, speak them, if you think them, feel them, and believe them in alignment with where you want to be, attention plus intention equals coincidence.
Which is basically what everybody knows, the book, The Secret, basically that.
Which ironically, I laughed at my wife when she was trying to help me. You need to watch The Secret. You need to watch The Secret. I'm like, that is such BS. You cannot sit on a couch, dream about a Ferrari and get it. Anyway, my life evolves where they put me on the Transformational Leadership Council with Jack Canfield, Bob Proctor, Lee Brower, everyone in The Secret. Then they did on Netflix Beyond the Secret, the sequel,
I haven't seen that.
and asked me to be in it.
Oh, wow.
And I told my wife, I'm like, how does it go? If they only knew how much shit talking that I did about The Secret, they never would ask me to be in the sequel.
That's so funny.
It's just mindset. I mean, that's all it is, right?
It's intention.
It's all mindset, yeah. So
Wayne Dyer is one of my favorites. He's in that movie as well.
Yeah, Sean's so positive. He always thinks like I could just be like, the house is burning, it's on fire. He's like, yeah, but the 10% didn't burn over here, so this part's
me.
good. That's the way he looks at things for me. I'm just like, it's on fire, I'm on fire.
That's my wife. That's me.
And
though.
I try to be more, cognizant of me doing that and going down that rabbit hole. But I had a friend / partner in business, and we'd come home every day and talk shit about all of our employees and all the bad things that happened during the day. And then you start experiencing more burnout because you become obsessive about all the things that went wrong and not focusing on the things that went right. And I know I still have that in me. I try to work on it every single day. But
trash story.
Say what?
Sorry to interrupt, but it's the same thing that she was kind of doing.
Yeah, and I know that I have a lot of room for improvement there, but it just comes along with me being the ADHD perfectionist type A. I want to try to constantly be polishing the turds and making things better. But I know that I need to be, just like you said, be more intentional with my thinking, to think more positive and what my goal is, and that we're making our progress towards that instead of obsessing over the things that are not so great and focusing more on the things that are so great to get you to your goal.
That's my marriage advice. People ask me, because I wasn't the greatest husband the first 7 years of my marriage. I will tell you, like I said, I'm one of the best people to teach you how to get people to call you back. I'm also one of the best husbands I know, because one switch, I started to look at what I wanted in my wife, not what I didn't want. So, I screwed up my marriage because I was always looking to polish the stuff about my wife that I didn't like. And ever since I focused in on all the things, I get more of those things.
Yeah.
More all the time. And it's amazing what I see in my wife because I'm looking for it, and what I don't see because I'm not looking for it.
And one thing that's good about our relationship is, number one, Sean has always been, from the day one, like, here you're at now, let's get you to here. Always been my biggest cheerleader, my biggest fan. You're better than everyone else that does what you do.
He's right.
Put on your blinders. Don't look at them. You are great because of this, so let's focus on this. He's always been really good at that. Lately, we've had a little bit of a rough patch, and I think it was because we had a lot on our plate at one time. Like I said, we've always gotten along really good, never fighting, but he was giving me more resistance than he had ever been giving me before. But one thing he's so great at, and this is, something good for all men to hear, is that he took a look at himself, happy wife, happy life, right? And he said, you know what? I don't ever give you resistance in our marriage. And lately I have been. And I'm going to pull back on that, and I'm going to listen more because I want to make you happy, right? And he knew that I was having problems with XYZ, and it was basically, we had 2 houses of our own under construction at the same time, and it was taking 2 years. It should have taken 2 years. This is something that should have been done in 6 months, but he was sharing contractors and then had personal stuff, and he just kept buying and buying and buying. And I was like, Pinky, promise me you're not going to buy one more fucking thing until we get our house done, because we were living in a hotel for 8 months.
Right, which he loved.
And he looked at me and he said, I'm closing on another building tomorrow. And I was like, I'm going to fucking kill you. Right. But at that moment, he bought that one building, and then he took a little break and really started to hustle and do that. And then the next thing was like communication. I was like, if we're going to have, a 5-year-old and we're having another baby, not me, but in 5 or 6 days, we're picking up our baby from our surrogate out of town. I was like, I cannot be married to someone. This is too much. I gave him the cold treatment. We don't do this. Didn't talk to him for 2 days. And he's like, okay, what's wrong? Why aren't you talking to me? I said, I had to make sure that you were listening and you knew that I was serious. I can't be with somebody who cannot communicate. I can't even like have a calendar with you or making plans with other people. You're not writing it. He immediately from that moment goes, okay, I hear you and I'm going to make a change. And instantly, but he actually, just like you said, makes effort when I have a problem with something to become a better husband because of it, where most people in relationships just pick and poke at the other person instead of seeing room for improvement, acknowledging it, saying, hey, there is a problem. I'm going to be better, just like you were with the trash.
Well, I love the fact that both of you are vulnerable. You know, part of the reason I wanted to come down here to be on this show is that I hate being on shows where people are just
Or fake assholes.
yeah.
I can't stand the fake.
Literally, I'm sitting there going, I'm 56 years old. I've been married 27 years. And if you're telling me that you never argue with your wife and blah, 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 blah.
Well, up to a year ago, I would have told you that. We never argued. We really, truly do get along. We don't argue. We don't bicker. But the key to success is he doesn't poke at me.
Yeah.
I'm a very strong personality. I cannot be.
Don't
when
poke
we
the
broke
bear.
up, yeah, exactly. I say that. We broke up twice in 16 years, right? And I thought I wanted to be with somebody who was more like me, that wanted to travel more, was more the life of the party or whatever. And then I dated men like that. And I'm like, I cannot date myself. This is terrible.
Right.
What am I doing? He's like my perfect match. And now we have the best relationship that, you know, this is the best part of our relationship, I feel like, you know, even though we have had some of the bickering lately, but the fact that he's willing to work on things and work through things and be a better husband, and because he really cares about our relationship and cares about our family, that's what's most important. Just like I can tell you are with your wife too. You may not have wanted to hear it at the time. You may have wanted to point blame, but it didn't take long for you to sit alone in yourself and realize, wait a second, I am an asshole. I'm not doing this right. I can be better. I love my family. I love my wife. I love my mom, and I want to do better.
Yeah. There's this terrible energy suck between this understanding of I am versus this is what I want people to think I am, including more relative relationships. And I'm very pragmatic. So all my relationships, I have 3 criteria that I look at. And the first criteria is whether somebody feeds or bleeds me. And it's not that I'm going to allow people that bleed me to fall away or even fire them from my life until I assess the second part, which is how relative is this person to me? So for example, your children bleed you. That's just a given. And when your parents get older, they will bleed you the same way you bleed your parents. But they're so relative to you that those people that bleed us that are so relative, it's actually a form of feeding. We feel fulfilled.
He lives his life by that. He does not waste time with anyone that doesn't take him forward. If you're going to lag him back, he's like not interested. He's like, if I'm going to go to dinner with this family, he's like, nope, I don't want to be around people like that, right? Or for whatever reason.
That's a really great quality.
He's a really nice guy, but he just like, I don't have time for that in my life. And that's why I stopped talking to my dad. He's now no longer with us. But the last 5 to 7 years of my life, Sean's like, listen, I don't ever say anything about your family. I had a really bad moment with my dad, and he was like, family or not, like, we don't need that in our lives. That brings you down. Why are you continuing to have that in your life?
So smart. And then there's association. People think by association, they have to allow people to bleed them as well.
He's like, this is weird. This is not normal, like what you're experiencing, you know? And he's, again, doesn't give his opinion a whole lot about stuff like that. But he's like, this is not normal. Like, you don't go to I don't go to my family's house for Christmas and they talk about what you're going to get, your $5 you're going to get for your inheritance the whole time, and carrot dangle. And if you come over more and do more, then this is what you're going to get from it. He's like, that's weird. And your family shouldn't talk to you that way. Like, all this fighting and bickering with your family, it's just, that's not normal. And then kind of look at his life, and I'm like, that's really how it's supposed to be? Like,
Nice.
having a mom that's
Yeah,
just
my mom was
nice. Yeah, she's
Just
just
like your
Yeah,
wife,
my mom.
yeah, she's just, his mom is great. Doesn't like try to give her opinion about what we're doing. She's always positive, just like he is. And all their sisters get along. There's never any family feuds. And it's like, oh, this is how it's supposed to be. Now I see. So family or not, I just choose to not have that negativity in my life, because it just, like you said, it drags you down, brings you back.
Yeah. And even in business, you know, my next book I just sold is Don't Do Business with Dicks. It's
I love the title.
No matter how much money is involved.
Trust me,
don't
I
care.
was there early on in my life. It was, you know, one of my early business partners got just in a bad way, went through some bad things in his life, and he wasn't always like that, but it had got to the point where it's like, I don't care. I was like, I'll just sell my half of the business. I was like, I can't
Giving
do
you
it
anxiety
anymore.
to deal with it.
Just went down a bad road, and I was like, I love business, but I can't do this. And so
There's just too many ups and downs every day. You didn't know what kind of mood he was going to be or how he's going to react
and
to
just
something.
how he treat the employees and just everybody. And you know, I was at that point. I was like, I can't I can't do it. And so luckily I got out of it and had some good partners since then, but that's a good book title for sure.
Yeah, but
It's almost like being in a bad marriage, right?
Yeah.
You're stuck in the same thing where you have to talk to them every day. You have to do business with them. It's about money. And so, yeah, that's a hard place to be.
That's interesting because I asked my wife post the D-Day of our relationship, I'm like, why didn't you say something before, your bags were packed, ready to go? And she had said, well, I didn't really think I had anywhere else to go. And it made me feel terrible. Right? Like that.
she felt stuck.
Yeah. And, I had no idea because I was so self-absorbed in narcissism, like that the whole world was revolving around me. And now all these years of having this amazing relationship and seeing exactly what you could have out of it. And I think to myself, how did I put myself in the position? Then what happened post that to me was really interesting is I would project, I look at other people for what I had done in the past. And I had to get out of this thing about looking and projecting onto other people what I had done in the past. So that I couldn't get past my own problems. And it was hurting my future because I was looking for whether it would be employees. I had a 26-year-old sales guy that was just like me when I was younger, but probably better. And, I was looking for who I was when I was 26 in him and not trusting who he was. And it hurt my relationship with him as a boss because I was constantly, looking for, hey, you're overselling, you're lying, which he was doing because that's a normal thing for a 26-year-old salesperson, but it's not something that you should look for. You should help to elevate the healing so he could learn faster than you do from your mistakes. And so I've gotten to that point over the last few years of just like, stop projecting your past onto other people and just look for the best and help them where you see, don't hurt them where you see deficiencies that you had in the past.
I feel like there's so much more to learn about you. How many books have you written?
So 8.
Eight
Don't
books,
Do
wow.
Business is that. And I've published 4. And they're all different. I have Connected to Goodness, which is my pride and joy. I actually give that one for free. I pay for shipping. I pay for the book.
Okay.
It's my mechanism to change the world, to empower people. It's a kind of Think and Grow Rich, pragmatic, spiritual guide that does real well. But anyone...
So if somebody wants that book, how do they reach you?
Email me directly, david@dmeltzer.com. And then I have Compassionate Capitalism, which is more an academic book about being a compassionate capitalist. Then Jack Canfield and I wrote a workbook together. He wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul called Living the Life You Love, Unstoppable. And that's all for charity. And then my bigger books, Tillman Fertitta here in Houston wrote the foreword, Game Time Decision Making, where I take all
I like that name. That was an excellent name for what that is.
And I
what your
have all the
background is.
sports stories. So I took
great name.
stories I know about Tom Brady and things that I learned about decision
What'd you
making
think about
and
that roast?
prioritization. Oh my gosh. I felt bad for his kids, but I loved it.
I did too.
I absolutely thought it was great
Yeah,
entertainment.
I heard the jiu-jitsu teacher didn't like that too much.
No, but when you're in that business, the impact it has on the family. So it always kind of,
he knew that was coming.
Unfortunately, for me, dulls the entertaining side because I find myself laughing really hard and then going, oh no,
I know.
I'd hate that to happen to me.
Whatever makes you feel uncomfortable, though, is usually really good.
Especially when he did it for charity. Like he gave millions of dollars to charity. I was like, damn, man, you are a good guy.
Taking a hit.
Yeah.
A hard hit for charity.
Yeah. And so, leading on, I love to write. And now it's become a lot easier to write books with AI.
So where's the other 4?
So 3 more. Well, Don't Do Business with Dicks is the other one. And then the other 3 I haven't sold yet. So those 4 are all published.
Do you have a publisher or do you self-publish?
So Simon & Schuster bought this last one.
Okay.
McGraw-Hill did Don't Do Business.
Okay.
Hay House bought my first book, which is Hay House, like the spiritual secret, etc.
Okay.
We self-published the Compassionate Capitalism, and then Jack Canfield published the Unstoppable book, etc.
Would you recommend to self-publish? Because I'm thinking about self-publishing.
Would, unless you are
if the publishers aren't listening.
Unless you're a Goggins. If you have a community that's that big, use a publisher. But here's the publishing game, just so you know, and publishers hate me for telling the game, but you have to be conscious of it. So let's say they give you $1 million advance. Well, what they do is you have a hardback book that you sell for $35, and you have to sell so many of those books at $35. Then you can only buy your book to give away, or your speaking engagements for $17.50. And so basically what they've done is use your ego to hire you to market a product
For them.
to your audience
Yeah. That you
that's
could have sold.
overpriced.
Yeah.
And so if you're David Goggins, that's okay, because the audience will buy it and you can market really easy. If you're David Meltzer and you're an impactful speaker, not a ticket seller,
Yeah.
then you're actually better off getting hired as a marketer to market a health and beauty company than your own book. So self-publish the book. The best marketing I do is give my books away because they're good. And then people buy them.
And buy you and then follow you and then go different directions.
I gave away last year 20,000 books.
Oh, dear Lord.
And sold 100,000 direct, which I made way more money than Game Time Decision Making, which I got a big advance for with McGraw-Hill. The new book, the only thing that was difficult, and why I haven't sold the other 3, is I finally got big enough where they were allowing me that I get my book at cost so I can give it away.
Yeah.
And that's
Because I wrote a book too, and we won't discuss it because I have a gag order.
Oh, nice.
But
Put it this
I
way,
did-
publishers
I
should
did-
be sports agents.
Yeah. And like you said, I didn't make any money on the sell of the book, but it introduced people to my brand. When I got on Amazon, I'd never heard of her. And people were flying all over, coming to Houston to get their makeup done. So I do agree with that. I should have probably just given it away
Yeah.
because it brought people to my brand, but it was good, marketing for that. But for my second book, that I have not written yet, I just have ideas for. I was thinking about self-publishing, but don't really know. So I have to get
I'll be
with
happy
you
to
on
help you.
that. Yes.
Yeah.
So if people want to find you, is it
David@dmeltzer.com.
Okay. And we'll
and
put that,
Seltzer with M.
Brian will put that in the video description
Please.
with a link to your
then
website where they can find
Google
your
me.
books.
I'm on every platform. So David Meltzer, not Dave Meltzer. Dave Meltzer is a famous wrestling observer guy.
They'll
And
be
so
like,
he's in the
"This is what?"
sports world. He's older than me, but people, I love it. Because there's a different energy to world wrestling. I love when someone's like, dude, you're an idiot. Like they come at me so hard and I have to double
Realize he
take.
gets
I'm
the
like,
wrong person.
wrong Dave. Right? Because it's like spiritual thought
Yeah.
people, they're not that angry. It's hard to hate someone that talks about gratitude and kindness and you're humble and basically say, I'm a huge fuck up and, don't be like me. It's really hard. Like you really have to be a hurtful person. Some people do call me fat and other things that I laugh at. And my kids are like, Dad, they're so mean. I'm like, well, maybe it'll motivate me to get into more shape.
She has a couple that attack her too.
Oh yeah, my mole. They hate my mole.
She's like, why don't you cut that mole off your
And
face?
I had,
I was
anytime
like, holy moly.
anytime that I have a video that gets more than 100,000 views, I have to hear about my mole.
Nice, yeah.
Some lady the other day who obviously English was not her first language, but she tried to tell me that it was very butchered, that I should cut my mole off my face if I'm going to be selling makeup products, but it was sailing, not selling. So it's funny. I like
Hurt
when
people
people
hurt
say
people.
things like that. I just think it's funny. I call out people because my followers think it's absolutely hilarious, and I'll screenshot it and I'll be like, "Well, Miss Debbie doesn't like my mole. What do y'all think?" And they're like, "Oh my, for the love of God!" And I'm like, any kind of publicity or fame or in any sort of way or attention that you get on social media, it's going to come with it. And for a long time, I really struggled. And if there was 100 good comments and one bad one, I would focus and
You
hone
and
on the
everyone
bad
else.
one.
Yeah.
But now I just think it's funny. He laughs at it.
I
I'll
get
be
my
like,
cell phone, my actual cell phone, and nobody ever calls me. I'm like, hey, obviously, I really want to learn why you're so angry. I'm happy to help you. Here's my cell phone. Give me a call.
Yeah, Sean's like that. Sean's like that too. Not with a cell phone number, but he'll just say, "You know what? You're right. I'm not really that good of an interviewer, but I'm going to get better because this is only my 20th
Give me
one.
1,000 times. I'll be really
And
good.
after 50, I'm going to be pretty damn good. So just thanks for following. Keep watching, and let's see what you think after I get a few more under
So
my belt.
good.
I'm not like that. I'm like, fuck you.
She's been on social media since kind of it
Right.
started taking off. And so, but it would tear her up sometimes in the very, very beginning.
Yeah, and I would go buck wild.
I'm
But
like, these people are
now
just
I laugh.
nobody. Yeah.
Now I laugh, and I'm
My wife still gets pissed. I'm like, I love the fact that you defend me. Like they'll say he's out of shape and he's talking about spending a minimum of an hour a day on his health. And my wife will like, round is his shape.
I know. Well, his first viral video, he was on a podcast. He didn't even have his own social media yet. He was on a podcast of somebody else who was talking about, Christmas lights and how this guy, he was an electrician who made like $80,000 of the chemical plants, was making $500,000 or $300,000 a year, whatever it was, doing Christmas lights every winter, which is actually true.
Yeah.
But they were like, this guy's a fucking liar. Maybe
Right, I
only in
love
River
that.
Oaks. And I'm like, bitch, it was in River Oaks, okay? Which is like where we're at now.
Right on.
It's funny because I was, instantly on the defense for him. He's like, you don't have to do that. I really
Yeah, I
don't
was
care.
like,
I think
it
it's
doesn't
funny.
I can see that in you. You don't really get
He's just, he's really, really
What
confident.
other people
which is good.
think's none of my business. That's what I determined.
Well, I really appreciate you coming all the way out here. I know you live very far away, so
I love you
flying out
guys.
here. And I know you have something else to go to, a seminar of sorts to go to after this, so we don't take up too much of your time. But if you do not already follow him, you should find him on Instagram. What other platforms are you on?
Every platform, David
platform.
Meltzer.
I think you have a lot of really good positive thinking advice, and it's interesting to hear your story of the ups and the downs and how you made it through and prevailed. So I really appreciate you being here today.
I appreciate both of you, and please come on my shows as well. The world needs more of both of you. So I look forward to returning the favor.
Yeah, we'll
Thank
definitely
you.
do that. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.